detect that kind of character on the recruiting trail? When you walk into the school, onto a head coach's office, how do you know this guy's got it, this guy doesn't?
Well, I don't think you can just get it when you walk into the school. I mean, you certainly try to do your homework and your research. You talk to everybody that you can talk to. These coaches, I mean, we've created an environment here where they know that I'm going to hold them accountable for not just the type of player, but I'm going to hold them accountable for the person that they bring in here, first and foremost. And so, I think our coaches are pretty cautious and very thorough. And so there's a lot that goes into that. I mean, it's like I said, it's talking to obviously all the coaches and other people in the school. It's what's sometimes it's talking to the strength coach. What type of work ethic does he have in the weight room? Obviously, it's their family, getting around their family, and just kind of figuring out how this young person is wired and how he's been raised. And I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. We study their social media, big time, because sometimes you got a guy that's got one personality and then he's got a whole different profile on social media, and that matters. So we try to do as good a job as we can, but also understanding that these are young people. These aren't finished people, grown, mature adults, and so there's a fine line. Because part of our job is developing character, correcting, and helping these guys mature. So I think you just got to make good decisions, and make sure that we bring the very best people in here first, but also players that are good enough to compete at the highest level.
A lot of young players that watched players win games last year from the sidelines, and Saturday was really the first time that guys like Kayvon Wallace and Niles Pinckney have been in there in crunch time, and then part of that comeback win. How invaluable is
It's huge. I mean, y'all have heard me say many times. I mean, this is nobody wants to hear that, and I ain't gonna ever stand up here and make some excuse for you. I mean, I tell you, day one, we're good enough. I mean, we're good enough. We got all we need. But when you sit there and you look at you and you go, okay, we had 36 guys the other night. There were 36 guys that we took on that trip that are either new players, so they're first-year players. Guys like Isaiah Simmons, T. Higgins, Amari Rogers, ETN. Guys like that. They're just truly first-year players, or they're guys that are in bigger roles than they've ever been. Trey Lamar, Kayvon, Trayvon, Ray. They got to be the guy. Dion, Mylan, Feaster. I mean, this is the first time in their career that they've kind of, had to kind of carry that load of, hey, I'm the guy, and I've got to step up. Falcinelli. I mean, there's 36 guys like that on our roster out of 72 that traveled to Raleigh. Like I said, that are just, and there's other guys that don't fit that category, that maybe don't have big roles right now. But it's fun when you see them, start to grow. We're going to make some mistakes. I mean, you just know that. And so I know what's coming. I know that it's going to pay off for us. We got a couple of young DBs that are going to learn through their mistakes, that are going to turn out to be really good players for us. We're coaching them dang wideouts left and right every single day. There's so much to teach. There's so much to learn. Kelly Bryant, he's one of them. I mean, he's a junior, but he hadn't really played. And now you're in every situation is an opportunity to grow. And I thought last week was a great growth opportunity. In particular, Kelly, because he didn't play well. I mean, he made great decisions, but he didn't. This is his worst completion percentage. I mean, he's been a very good guy completion-wise, but to see him, maybe not just the fact that he knows he doesn't have to play perfect and can still win. I think that's another step for him as a quarterback. So we got a lot of that going on this team, all across the board, that I think will pay off well for us.
Going back to Cleveland, he said yesterday that your word of the year was appreciate. What did you tell your guys at the beginning of the season about appreciating their time at Clemson?
Yeah, it was actually appreciation. to be specific, was my word. And I just going through the season last year, the run we had, and you just, man, it's just a lot. The last 2 years, really. I mean, we've been, and they're really not even the last 2 years, but the last 7 years. I mean, just the type of consistency that we've had. I just think that it's important that everyone has a great appreciation for the opportunity, appreciation for this new building that we moved into, appreciation for the privilege to play, appreciation for your teammates. I think that's important. Because the definition of that word appreciation is a full understanding of something. And that's just what we want to create, and be. For me, it was for me too, just to really have a great appreciation for the journey. Just the daily grind, the opportunity to do what we do on a daily basis. I mean, it's such a privilege to be able to coach a game that I love and love to play, and to get to do it at a place like Clemson on a stage like this is just incredible. And I just think it's important that we don't ever take that for granted. So when you have an appreciation for something, you show that, and you stay humble. Helps you stay hungry for what's next.
Coach, you said after the game on Saturday about the ups and downs of coaching a guy with the level of confidence that Ray has. But how critical of that is that personality to being able to put him in a role like you did at the end of the game, throwing him out there on their best receiver on a crucial drive? Not many guys with a lack of experience would be able to handle a job like that.
Well, he's earned it. I mean, it's not like I said. It's not like he hasn't practiced. I mean, we didn't just throw him out there without any practice. He's worked at it and practiced, and he's demonstrated his confidence to us in practice. And it was just a situation of need that we just felt like, hey, we just need a little bit more of a veteran guy here that kind of knows the situation, and that's why we put him in there. I've been coaching skilled guys for a long time, and I've had a million Rays. That sometimes just there's some growth that has to take place, and I'm just really proud of him. He's in a good place. I mean, he's in the best spot that he's been in, and I think that just kind of adds fuel to his fire. The fact that we have confidence in him, and it goes back to the punt return too. We believed in him and what he could do. We just needed him to kind of put a little more sense of urgency into some things, and sometimes you got to go through some stuff to really get the right mindset, and that's really what it took for him, because he's a very prideful player, and he's realized that how he has to work, and the mindset that he has to have to reach his potential, and as he's grown in that area, his confidence has grown, and he's just a guy, as I said, going back to fall camp, when we started kind of working him a little bit just to give us see what he could do there if we needed him. He's a natural, and so our confidence comes from what he's done in practice against good players.
How important was having him to enable you to keep Kayvon at safety?
It was very important, because Kayvon is still a young player too, and Muse with a club on his hand, and we just felt like that he needed to get all those reps, as the second safety, to really be prepared especially against that group. I mean, they do an unbelievable job of, schematically, formationing, and just a lot of stuff that can challenge you, especially at safety. So he needed to get all those reps. And in an emergency situation, yes, he could go over there and play corner, and he worked a lot of corner in camp. He worked a lot of corner, but he hasn't played a lot of corner. And like I said, he could go do it, but having that ability to have Ray just allowed us to have a little more confidence in just giving him all those reps there at the number 2 safety.
Coach spoke of the physical challenges at
just look around the country. It's the hardest thing that we do. That's the hardest thing when you're dealing with young people is to have the right mindset week in and week out, and to consistently be able to understand that you're playing to a standard, and that has to be your mindset. If it's anything other than that, then it's just so hard to be consistent. And that doesn't mean you're not going to get beat along the way. Sometimes you have a bad day, or the team's hot, you run into somebody and they beat you, and so how do you respond to that? That's critical as far as the type of season that you're going to have. And then also, you can't let one game define you, or a couple games define your whole season. It's just, you got to have that stick-to-itness to you. That perseverance and resilience. I mean, it takes that. And the mental part of it is huge. Just like if you're undefeated, and you got to create that mindset every week, like it's a clean slate. If you're going to maintain any consistency, and that is the best thing that we've done here. It's not winning the national championship. I mean, we set out to be a consistent program, and you go all the way back to 2009. In fact, I think this is the day, November the 7th, we won our first division against Florida State. D-Mac and them boys in the Valley. I think this is maybe 8 years ago today. We won our first division, and that was a good step for us. And then 11, we won 10 games, and it's like, okay, that's great, all right, but don't worry. We need some consistency. We gotta develop consistency, and the only way you do that, because it's not like over the last going on 7 years. I mean, we've won a bunch of ball games, but it's not like we hadn't had failures too. It's not like we haven't had challenges. It's not like we haven't had them moments where everybody questions everything you do, and the world has come to an end. But yet we've been able to continue to be consistent and create the right mindset, and I think that's the hardest thing to do. And to be able to sustain that, and that is a credit to our culture. It's a credit to the type of players that we bring in here. It's a credit to our staff and everybody that pours into these guys, and just the buy-in of those guys, the leadership, and how leadership is developed in our program. Those are the things that you have to handle the success, to handle the failure along the way. But at the end of the day, to stay consistent, because it's hard. I mean, and again, all you got to do is look across the country, and you got a million of examples where you just scratch your head because of that very thing. Everybody's got enough to beat you, most teams.
Job Jimbo's done in Florida State. Are you surprised there's been some backlash this year with the injuries they've had?
I mean, he's done an unbelievable job. I mean, they've won a national championship. I think they've been in at least another playoff or BCS, whatever it was, whenever they were. Maybe they won a BCS championship, and then they were in a playoff. I mean, they've been one of the best teams. How long has he been the head coach? 7. How long? Okay, so 7 years. He's. I mean, this year is not indicative of the job he's done. I mean, they've been unbelievable year in and year out. This has been a crazy year, but I know we'll get the very best version of Florida State this week, first of all, and second of all, he'll get it right. He'll get it fixed, and they'll keep recruiting and continue to be Florida State like they always have been.
What are your thoughts on the linebacker depth, and has it been what you hoped it would be before?
Yeah, it's been great. I'm really pleased with our backers. The guys that kind of came out of camp positioned have really kind of held their ground. Dorian's the starters have done a good job for us and have grown. Kendall's had a great year. Dorian's had a great year. Trey Lamar just gets better and better. He'll still make some mistakes, like the other night runs through. We got a stretch play and he runs through the gap, runs underneath. Now we got nobody over there, and those are just. But then he comes back, he fixes it, and he blows it up. So he's a young player that's learning every single week. And then really proud of JD. JD's had a great year for us. I mean, he's been a very valuable guy. Same thing, I think, the improvement of Chad Smith. He's got some critical snaps for us. Skowski. Jalen has been a solid guy and has kind of been that backup hybrid guy for Dorian. Gives us a hard edge, a lot of energy when he's in there. Another really smart player, doesn't make a lot of mistakes. So, yeah, we've got a good group. Shaq's made great improvement. Hadn't had a ton of opportunity just yet, but he's coming. So it's been a really good group. May have forgot somebody, but you know, we've played a lot of guys there, and I think that experience is going to pay off for us.
Shaq got a high ankle sprain early in the year.
He did, which set him back. That really set him back. He missed a lot of time, but he's back and doing great. Like I said, he's just a redshirt freshman, and sooner or later he's gonna blossom into a great player.
Dabo, how do you deal with the demands for you to sign things, and especially what's maybe going to come in the next 3 weeks, people want things signed for the holidays, and are you aware of all the Dabo signed stuff there is out there on eBay and on the web?
I have no idea. Maybe I should. I don't know. Other people pay attention to that stuff. I have no clue. We try to just sign stuff to people. We try not to do generic type of things unless they got a valid like charity or something like that. But it comes with the territory, and I try to be as graceful with my time as I possibly can be to kind of fulfill that role, because I do think that's part of my job. But I just kind of set aside a little time every week to manage that, because if you don't, it just is overwhelming. But I usually take a little time on Thursdays, and then a little time on Fridays when we're kind of done with the plan and all that. And I'll try to. My assistants do a great job of kind of having that stuff organized and vetting it out. Sometimes there's certain things like, nope, can't sign that. But they'll have it organized. I'll come in, have a little block of time, and I'll try to stay on top of it. But sometimes you get behind, and then they do a great job helping me with mail. But it's just just kind of a part of my week, week in, week out.
Anybody got anything else?
You talked about having so many skilled guys that have kind of had that Ray Ray personality. What is it that has set him apart, though, that has allowed him to reach the next level?
Well, I mean, he's just incredibly talented. He brought a great skill set in here. I mean, he's explosive. He's got great lateral quickness. He's as tough as they come. I mean, he is. Y'all heard me say many times, he thinks he's 6'4", 250. That's his mindset. I mean, he is a really tough kid. And he understands the game. He played running back pretty much all of high school, but he's got a good understanding of the game. He didn't have a good understanding of playing wide receiver, and just he just wanted to kind of be an athlete, and he was a little undisciplined, and eventually he figured out that he's not going to be successful that way, and so he's become a more technically sound player. He's a better route runner. He's still got a lot of room for improvement. He's much better at his break points and things like that, but he's bigger than people think. He's got decent length to him. He's not a tiny guy, but he's worked harder in the weight room. I think that's helped him as he's improved his strength, which has improved his confidence. But and then just experience, being willing to take coaching. I think that's probably one of the biggest areas of growth that he's had since he got here. And I mean, he'll be the first one to tell you, I have been in his grits from the day he got here. He and I have had our moments, but I just want him to be great. I just want him to reach his potential, and I know what it's going to take for him. But he's responded. I mean, he's responded, and like I said, has become very coachable.
Having done this as long as you tell those guys that
Oh, yeah.
to be in their grits.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's exhausting sometimes. But, you know, it's just that sometimes that's why he calls coach. That's what it takes. You know, some guys, you got to say nothing to them. They're just, Deshaun Watson. I didn't have to say anything to Deshaun Watson. He just unbelievably driven, you know, and you couldn't coach him enough. You know, if you wasn't coaching him, he's wanting it. You know, he's hey, where you at here? Hey, he was just wired a little differently. You know, Ray came in with all the swag, and you know, the swag don't get it done. You know, it's the sweat. So I'm proud of him because again, sometimes, you know, when you get guys, because he's such a great kid, he's got an awesome personality. He's fun to be around. Great mom and dad. You know, I don't think he realized how hard it was going to be. You know, that you don't just, you know, roll out there and play. It wasn't that way for Sammy. It wasn't that way for any of them. Nuke. You got to put the work in, and you got to become a detail-oriented player. And, you know, I don't think he had quite as much respect for the wide receiver position as he needed. But he figured it out pretty quick, and he's worked his tail off, man, to become a very productive player. To the point that we can say, hey, you know what? Let's work him at some corner too. You know, originally we were like, hey, we were going to work him at some run. I'm like, hey, we need to get good at one thing here before we worry about anything else. And so that's kind of where we are. We're at that point where I think Ray can really blossom and become that dynamic type of a guy that very few guys can be. I mean, he's got the mentality, he's got the football IQ, and you know, to do a lot of things. And you know, not everybody's got that, but he legitimately can go play corner, can be a great returner. You know, you can do a lot of things with him in the offensive scheme, and you know, he's just become so much more mature in that standpoint. But yeah, I mean, like I said, you recognize that's part of coaching. It's just figuring out where a guy is, and sometimes you got to go meet him right where he is and pull his butt where he needs to be. And sometimes he's pulling against you, and you got to grab him with two hands and keep pulling. And most of the time, they eventually figure it out. He's a perfect example of that.
Coach Doyle reached out to you at all about the laptop over the weekend?
No, he did not. But you know, I don't know who. Somebody asked me. One of y'all asked me about that in the press conference. But like I said, I had no clue. I mean, I knew it wasn't anything to do with football, but I did investigate. I did. I followed instructions to do some investigation, and I did. And turns out there was just a major crisis going on. And there was a young guy trying to help a team in need, and I think trying to be helpful in the situation, they trying to get in touch with Amazon. We had a crisis, dire need of towels. All right? And we were trying to get one of them drones to come in and drop some towels on the sideline. And, you know, just didn't work out. But so, you know, but on that, I want to launch an investigation too. What do they do with those towels? Is it a towel wall of fame? But no, disappointing because, you know, when that was kind of a challenge to our integrity. And then you watch the tape, and you know, 2 years ago we go up there and one of the coaches pushes Deshaun Watson, and then this year we got some guy take a swipe at Kayvon. You know, what if he breaks a finger? You know, so I think the investigation needs to be managing his side, not worrying about ours. So didn't get a call.